Hey, hi Anjani.
Hi Jagdish,
Hey,
how are you?
welcome everyone to this edition of ClarITea Chat. Um, and welcome Anjani to this session over a cup of tea.
Thank you, Jagdish. Thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah. So, everyone, ClarITea Chat is an effort to bring out the management and soft aspects of digital transformation and IT management through these conversations with CIOs and business leaders. And today we have one such experienced leader with us on ClarITea Chat. Let's meet Anjani Kumar, Chief Information Officer at Strides, which is an Indian pharma major uh, and amongst the world's largest manufacturers of soft gelatin capsules. Anjani, we picked that up from your website.
Thank you.
Welcome again to the show, Anjani.
Thanks. Always
So,
pleasure to talk to you.
yeah, absolutely. And I hope you have your cup of tea with you.
Yeah, here you go.
Yep. Okay. So he took me through his eventful journey over a long prep chat, and this clarity chat session will bring out these case studies, learnings, and success principles which made him what he is today. So some of these include focusing on solving problems wherever they are in business, that is not having a siloed mindset, user centricity as a success principle. We have some really nice case studies on that. Learning from failures. So Anjani was very forthcoming to share, what didn't work, and that's a sign of humility. An approach to assimilating new talent with existing teams as we undertake digital transformation. You will always have the tussle of, new and old, and Anjani will share some interesting thoughts on that and approaches on that. Becoming an effective communicator, and finally we will do a rapid fire round, after which Anjani will get a chance to get even with me with his question. So my biggest takeaway from our preparatory chat was his philosophy: embracing the unknown. Where you go is more important than where you come from. As we go through this session, you will realize the power of taking the path less trodden and the path less defined. So, Anjani, before we start talking about your journey, here is a quick fire icebreaker question to energize our audience.
Sure.
Um, so, please share that incident where you tried to be a good boss, but you landed in trouble.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. So it was early part of my career when I became manager first time, and we were in one of the MNC company, software company. We were working really hard. The whole team was working hard. We were going home at like 12, 1 in the night for months. Project went live on the weekend, and some one of the weekdays, Tamil movie was getting released, and couple of entry level trainees, they wanted to go as a first show. So they asked me, Anjani, can I go? Just being a considerate manager, I thought they have been working. I said, okay, you can go. By the time, I mean, I did not realize that the word spreads like wildfire. After some time, my manager calls me up and asks, do you know where are these girls? I said, I have no idea. They must be somewhere. They said, probably you don't know, but you have allowed them to go to movie. And I was like, I was in tough situation, but I told him that, okay, what do you want me to do? They have been working really hard and they wanted just a few hours break. He said, what you did, he thought for a minute. Then he said, what you did was the right decision, but next time make sure they don't tell anybody. So that was early part of the lesson.
Oh, absolutely. We do many things at times which are not, as per the rules, but we do it for the teams, and I think that's a big learning. That keep it a secret. Don't go about telling everyone we're going for this first day first show.
Yeah, I still do
Interesting.
lot of things out of the way, but now I make sure I tell them 3 times. Please don't tell. Keep it to yourself.
No, absolutely. Hey, that was a really good start, Anjani. But now, hey, all of you, the audience, you keep this initiative going week after week. Uh, your name is out there, but what do your friends call you? So, for my friends, I'm sometimes JC. For some friends, I'm Jaggi. So, please share what your friends call you and where are you joining from, and please share with us and each other in the comments. Now, as we go through the conversation, please don't hold back. Ask all the questions that come to your mind, and we'll take these up. Meanwhile, let's see who all have joined here with us. So we have Raghu. Hi, Raghu. We have Tushar. Hi, Tushar. And we have Rajiv Girala. He's a good
Hey,
friend
Rajiv.
and fellow golfer. Though we haven't played for a while. Thanks, Rajiv, for joining. Hey, Sandeep. It's good to see you every week. Sandeep joins us from Germany every week.
Hey, Sandeep.
Hi, Ganesh. Ganesh is as well a regular. Uh,
A good
Thanks,
friend.
Ganesh,
Hi,
for joining
Ganesh.
us again. Um, hey, Preetham from Ohio. I don't know why your name doesn't come, but thanks for sharing. Again, you are a regular. Thanks for being there. Hey, Nitin. Thanks for being a regular here. Miraj,
Hey,
thanks for joining us. We have Upendra and Jagdeep from Lohia Group, Kanpur. Wow. Okay, so that's the my first scooter was a LML Vespa.
oh, that's
I
from Loya
remember.
Group.
Yeah, that is the Lohia Machines Limited, if I'm correct. The LML was Lohia Machines Limited.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never knew that. Good
Jagdeep, correct me
information.
if I'm wrong. And we have Abhishek from Lucknow. I remember he joined us last time and he announced that this is his first time. So thanks for joining again, Abhishek. I'm happy that you are finding some value in it. Um, we have Manoj, we have Sachin, Gopal, I think from Bangalore, if I'm correct. And we have Anuj Bhargav, a classmate. Thanks for joining, Anuj. So let's move on. Anjani, the premise behind the Clarity Chat is managing IT is an art that can be learned from an artist. And here we are going to you are going to walk us through your canvas of experiences, primarily around driving value from IT in this edition of Clarity Chat. Now, we do a little bit of analysis and we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, technology sales folks, quite a rich variety in our audience with a common agenda. Everyone is
Mhm.
here to learn the art of finding success with technologies from the lead experiences of leaders like you and me. So, in the first part, let's try to the look at your journey through through your lenses. So please tell us about your childhood up to college and first job. Do you remember anything that gave you an indication that you're going to land up in IT?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. So we were not in the era of Google and internet. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know that. Right. Uh, there are advantages and disadvantages too. When I have a kid, I realize that. So my childhood was actually I grew up in village, and I went to a primary school, government Bihar government primary school, where there used to be 2 rooms and 5 classes. And luxury was when the 2 classes were having the class, other three can go and play, go out and play, right? So that was my beginning, and of course went to different schools, and up to class 10 I was in government school, boarding school actually from class 7, because in maths I got 93 out of 100, which my father thought that I am not studying well. And I was sent to hostel, and that was I asked my father, what should I do? He said, you should be engineer, right? And I said, okay, but engineering is just a way. You should be IS officer. I said, okay. So when I got through, I asked him, I was getting everything everywhere, and he said, you should take mechanical engineering because that's the subject in UPSC exam. And then I wanted to go to Trichy, Surathkal, because I was at that time NIT Trichy, Surathkal was the best ones. But he said, no, you can't go so far. So you have to stay near to Bihar. Finally, compromise formula reached. I joined NIT Rourkela, mechanical engineering. First 2 years, very nice. I wanted to be IS officer. As I got more exposure, I said, oh, no, I don't want to. And I would rather do something else. And that is where IT attracted. And Cognizant was second company in the campus, one of the highest paid at that time. And at that time, you look at what is the money, college mindset, huh? And I went into that, and that was my first job. I really did well as an entry level trainee. Didn't have much difficulty in picking up software, and I was there for 15, 18 months, and then IBM came. At that time, IBM was happening company, and I I actually went to that is also a story because I was not applying. I had not applied for IBM. One of my friend has applied for IBM. He was going for interview, and I just went out that after that we will go to movie together. And then the recruit hiring manager meets me and he says, oh, you are here, you are also working with him? I said, yeah. Why don't you apply? I said, I don't have CV. He said, you can give CV later. And I appeared for the test. I finally got through the IBM, and that has been the first two jobs and college in brief.
And did your friend also make it?
No.
look at what destiny does to you, right?
No, at that
So
time, I mean, I will tell you, I was in two moods. Of course, with 23-year-old, you don't know much whether to go or not to go. Then I realized a lot of people on my floor in my company has already appeared, and then you realize, damn it, I'm getting something which people have not got it. So that also played a factor. Now I laugh about it, but that played a factor.
okay. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. So meanwhile, we have someone who kind of empathizes with your life out there. Upendra Dubey says that I'm also from a government primary school. That's
Good,
nice. And meanwhile, we also have Rakesh Khetan joining us from, if I'm correct, Gujarat, and Sunil
Rakesh.
joining from Delhi, and yeah,
Hey, Sunil.
Tushar.
Sunil is ex-colleague.
Oh, okay, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Okay, so
And primary schools
Anjani,
are see, I'll tell you, government primary schools, and they make you a study even with less resources. They make you a study. So I have no complaints. I am ultimately the product of government school.
no, absolutely, absolutely. I also actually, interestingly, I got selected in Sainik school, and after 10th, I came back because I did not really want to go to NDA, and I actually
Okay.
came to Government Inter College Almora.
Mhm.
So for 2 years, I came from CBSE to UP board, from English medium to Hindi medium, and you won't believe, in my first attempt, I cracked MNNIT, Allahabad.
Wow.
So that was, I think,
Good.
that used to be the level of studies at that time. You are right; resources were not that great, but I think one, there was a lot of fire, and the teachers used to be sincere in our times.
Two, there were no distraction like social media.
Absolutely. And we wanted to become something, right? That fire was there. Yeah, absolutely. So, Anjani, let's go on. Tell us about, IBM and IBM. I think you spent a long time in IBM, and then post
Correct.
IBM. Quickly, some milestones just to kind of give people a sense of your journey.
Yeah, in IBM when I joined, again, I joined as a Java developer at that time, and I was core techie and slowly grew through the ranks. I was working in India as one of the first outsourced project called AT&T. Most people know about it from 2000, right? And in 2005, I got married and we decided to go to US for good. And that was the time in 2005. And I grew through the ranks really fast. IBM kind of company, it gives you a very good exposure, right? Again, it depends on you. It's an ocean, right? If you want to learn, there is no end to it, right? And that was the time in 2008. Till that time, I thought I'm very good. Most of us think we are very good. When I started working with IBM consulting folks and the detail orientation which they used to do, it was amazing. And then I realized, damn it, I am nowhere, correct? And that is where I mean, there was a good morning for me. And I changed the whole landscape, whole approach, how I used to work, right? Be it detailing, be it communication, be it collaboration, be it how much user centricity you can have. Till that time, I used to think I have a lot of user centricity. I saw them literally walking to the quadrant of the client, right, and looking at things. That was, I would say, those 2 3 years, 2008 to 2011 10 actually, was defining career of my leadership. And that is the time I was also picked up for IBM executive leadership. They give you a lot of trainings. Hats off to IBM leadership training institutes and the exposure shadowing when you picked up for next generation leader position. Very good exposure, very good learning. And then we came back to India in 2012. At that time, I used to run digital practice for pharma and life sciences. When most of the people did not even understand when I used to call digital, people will look at it, whatever, right? As long as you are bringing the revenue, we are okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Then in 2014, 13, 14, I was looking at it. Do I really want to do this, or do I want to get 360-degree view? Because when you are in consulting or technology services company, what you don't get is 360-degree view. Some of the project you have done, you don't even know whether that is being used. When you get into the corporate IT, you get 360-degree view. You eat your own dog food, right? If you do good, you hear for years. If you don't do good, that also you hear for years. And that was
Correct,
the whole
correct.
reason I joined Safexpress logistic company as a CIO, and promoter was really forthcoming. They wanted to change the company, and that was their whole motivation. Uh, we had a pretty good digital transformation. Then I joined another company called Collabra as a chief digital officer. That was a fad at that time. So I was in one of the India's first CDO, right, of Enterprise India. Then I joined regional CIO as Nissan. And after that, I have been CIO for Strides. So now it has been 6 to 7 years on the other side of the table and in all different industries, right? And a lot of people have asked, like, how don't you feel the difficulty? One thing which I realize is it takes probably, if you really want to learn, it takes 4 to 6 months and you will be able to pick any domain.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. And in case of IBM, generally in these large organizations, you tend to be in a certain department. You're on a certain project. But then, what you have told sort of indicates that, like, you moved around quite a lot and you picked up a lot of things. So tell us a little bit about, um, I mean, going outside of the mold.
Yeah. So you get defined, most of the time you get defined to a project in a services company. But there are a lot of forums, right? Internal forums. At that time used to be a different version of social media. When you go post your opinions, people are interested to talk. Even as a junior person, you get picked up for due diligence of a company which IBM is acquiring, right? At the age of, with 6 years experience, I was doing a due diligence for a $2 billion company, from the technology perspective. Then if there is some project, some accounts which is in deep trouble, they are picking up people. You get picked up just because you showed that inclination and people believe in you, that you could understand, you could do the stretch assignments. So that helps. Third one is how much open you are. So every time services companies are responding to RFP, they need people who already have experience. And if you show inclination, if you show good performance, they pick you up. And you get, there is no dearth of recognition if you are doing a good job in most of these companies, I have realized. And this is what, I mean, whoever is working for services company or in any company, actually, you should not be just to the role which is defined to you inside the project organization or account, or outside the account. You should be looking out at where can I help, where could you stretch yourself, and that can give you a lot of exposure and a lot of recognition, and it helps you in your later life because I can tell you, I was in software services, I was in consulting. I used to do sometimes the GTS, Global Technology Services Infra Network, which is helping me now as a CIO.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And when it's only when you stretch out and then you pick up things outside of your mold, outside of your domain, that's when I think you get really noticed and recognized, isn't it?
Most of the time, sometimes you get in your current role also, but most of the
I understand. Yeah, yeah. But I think the thing is not to do it for for the show part of it, but to do it for adding value part of it. It's like wherever the organization requires you, you go and contribute. I mean, I can share something from my own experience also, that when we had started this CRM, I was actually a subject matter expert from service. Okay.
oh wow.
And then as we got into it, and we started looking at that, okay, we have all this data and all these internal processes that now need to be exposed to our dealers and customers, and we found that a lot of it was not in place. It was not in a, it was good for internal people to see it, but it wasn't presentable outside. And then I kind of stretched myself to do a lot of master data cleanups, engage with the people who were generating master data to kind of say that, hey, you know what, now it is going to go out into the world, so we better do it in a proper way. Then I started getting into development. I started looking at development processes when I found that we are not having bug free releases, and that kind of, my boss said, okay, why don't you take up development role? And that's how the role kept getting expanded, that wherever help was needed, or wherever things were in like problem, I was kind of like coming out and helping. But that's a good discussion, Anjani. Thanks for that. So
Interesting.
now let's go back to our audience. And let's see. So yeah, Sandeep Batra says, yeah, that's destiny. I think that was for your friend not making it and you making it. So we have Senthil from Bangalore. Again, a repeat. I mean, again, what do you call?
Yes, Sunil.
Yeah, consistently being there on the show. We have Dr. Lab Singh, and we have Praveen. I think Praveen knows you
Yeah.
from
Hey,
Barcode
Praveen.
India.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a question: was the on-site drive big in those times?
Not exactly, because on-site was very common. These days, it is more difficult. At that time, if you say, if you are little good and if you want to go, you you will go. I still remember somebody asked a asked a manager in IBM. Uh, at that time, it was called delivery project executive. I want to go to US, and manager said, "We are not travel agency that you would want to go to US, and we'll send you." Person finds a job with H1 within 3 months and resigns and goes to US. Right. So that was
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Lab Singh asked a question: IBM and TCS have so much in common. Why don't they merge from synergy and future digital leadership? Okay, so let's imagine you are IBM, I'm TCS. Let's merge. Okay, I'm just joking. I think that question is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
outside of.
Please propose my name for CEO of that merged company.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, thanks, Dr. Lab Singh, for a little bit of fun on that. Yeah, there's one comment here. Now, I don't know who's the user here. Somehow, some names don't appear. I think mentorship also matters for internal mobility. If it were not for my learning under JCB as a young guy in 2007, I would not have gone. Okay, I have to recall who this guy is. But by the way, what do you think about mentorship, Anjani? And
So
how do you find mentors?
mentorship is very important, correct? Because what happens is you are learning from others' mistake. Otherwise, you will do the mistake and you will take so many years. And I have taken a lot of mentorship. One is definitely my IBM boss, Sabyasachi Biswas, has been my career mentor. Another one have been Ashutosh Jha, who is my also happens to be my cousin. He is he was in HCL. He just joined another company. He's in US. There have been several mentors in time to time, correct? And I definitely feel you could talk about certain thing which you want to achieve, right? And and is this the right way? You could do the ideation, you could do the thought process exchange. So it's very very important. Sometimes when you are on the lower in your uh, career, you are struggling, mentors are the one who helps you. For me, another mentor I have is of course couple of promoters with whom I have worked before. I still maintain a good relation and I will call them mentor. At times I do call them, and you know, and at times they call me to discuss about their business which I am no more associated, correct? Just this relation. For me, another mentor is also my wife, who is also from professional background, and a lot of the time I do the discussion unbiased, unbiased discussion with her. So yeah, that way I have been lucky to have multiple mentors, but I definitely feel everybody should have a mentor.
Yeah, yeah. I think at the root of it, mentor is like a sounding board, and I think as long as you have someone who you feel wise enough who can answer a question for you, two questions for you. One is, like, what can I do better, right? And what do you think about me? Open questions, and that really brings out the mentoring. So I've been using questions like this. I call them as open questions, which force somebody to respond in an elaborate way. Instead of saying, am I doing good, and the answer you get is yes or no. But if you say, how am I doing, right, that brings out a more elaborate answer, and some follow-up questions and all of that. By the way, Anjani, I must tell you
And
that I now know why you are a communication expert, and and India's most social CIO. You just made sure that for the next 5 years your wife doesn't fight with you.
she only taught me this line. Sorry.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
See, on mentorship, I will tell you, this was also, uh, people are also looking for mentorship. Sometimes I have gotten call from CIOs whom I don't even know, right? And he calls me up, I'm so and so, and some of them I know them as a friend, but I never thought that they will need my mentorship, correct? I am relatively, I was in a small company, somebody calling from a much bigger company, multinational. I wanted to discuss something with you, right? And it was a career, related to career, that I have this option, what to do. And this was, it definitely puts you into tighter spot, but it also gives you a satisfaction that you are being the sounding board, suggestion giver to somebody, and who has constantly kept in touch with you. And what happens is your learning goes double, triple, four times, because now you are not learning from your stuff, you are also learning from his and her experiences. So I have a lot of people whom I've been in each of the company probably I have worked. I will have two to three or more than that leaders who are still in touch. Time to time they will call. This is what I am doing. This is what is happening, and I absolutely take pleasure in that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, one thing, generally when we are looking around for mentors or, for some advice, there's a very big mental block, that people have, which is, what if he says no? And what I have, my personal experience in terms of, both receiving mentorship and giving mentorship is, that's a fear that nobody should have in mind, because most of the time, people actually want to help. People who have arrived in life, they want to help others. So any one of you out there, whoever you think can be your mentor, just reach out to them, and seek advice. By the way, the secret superstar that I was wondering about, who was talking about mentorship with me, is Satya Prakash Bommaraju. We used to call him Sats. And and surprisingly, he was like, in my team from TCS. And he had and we were basically, we had taken some help from TCS to like develop a next generation portal for Tata Nano, which would have a lot of transactions and other stuff, and we really worked together on that. So let's move on, Anjani. So
Sure.
Anjani, you moved as the digital head at Safexpress. This is a industry, logistics industry, something which used to be actually far from digital. And when I was talking to you, I realized that you played a pretty momentous part in the industry itself, beyond transforming the Safe Express from a technology point of view, especially driving value from IoT. So share that experience, and there's a lot of learning there as far as thinking from a user's point of view is concerned. Driving value from a technology by sort of taking it from a standalone to a mainstream is concerned, and all of that. That's a pretty rich experience.
Yeah, I was CIO for Safexpress. At that time, digital was not so common, so there was no digital head. Of course, CIO will look at digital
Okay.
also. And digital was so naive. If I give you an example, one of the big tech firm was looking for there was a cloud conference, and he was looking for a CIO who could give a CIO view of the cloud. And he calls me up. I was just like 1.5 months in the job, and he calls me up. I knew him from IBM days. Hey, Anjani, I need you to come. I said, I am outside, and I am only coming in the afternoon of that day. He said, please come for half an hour. I am not finding anybody who can go give the CIO view for the cloud, right? So that I just wanted to tell that that was the, and this was in 2014-15. When I was doing it was, I did not know that I am doing an IoT project. What I was looking is, I was looking at a business value. So we had GPS, which which was a mammoth project to put in all the trucks. After 100, there was dead silence from the provider. Provider wanted us to go, but business operation, no, everybody was in stalemate condition. Nobody was able to say why they don't want it, but they didn't want it. They were not much interested. When I looked at it, people were only trying to get for the tracking, right? And they were also looking at, you have to go to a different portal, track it. Of course, you don't have so much time. So what I looked at it, what else you could do? What is the value of GPS? You could get truck performance, you could get vehicle performance, driver performance, route performance, all sorts of analytical data. You could put the fencing, boundaries, and you could also integrate that in the ERP, which anyway hub managers, warehouse managers are looking at. But when I tried to do it, first challenge, I had a multinational, one of the biggest telematics company from US as a vendor. I told him. His answer was, can you provide the data? I said, even if you give it 10 minutes, chalega. Said, look, I have Maruti, Adani, Reliance all on my platform. Nobody is asking, who are you to ask? Kind of that was the, and I had to open his contract. And I had to bring some of the newer generation vendor was able to, who gave the data. Later, this US telematics company also followed. And I heard from his CEO that later it became a unique proposition for him to sell his product. He never gave royalty to me. That's a different thing. So, and implemented that, and that changed the whole way users were looking at it. Now users are already using the technology, and this, when I was looking at it, I was talking to Shrikant, who used to be, I think, DataQuest, one of the DataQuest editors. He says, Anjani, this is an IoT story. I said, yeah, I never looked at from that perspective, Srikant. And then he said, this is India's first IoT enterprise IoT project, because they were already tracking. It came in cover page and all sorts of things. Because today, if you look at it, today it's very common getting the GPS data. Not today, 3 years back, but if you go back to 2014, it was not available. So that has been the you know one of the things. Of course, several things. Another was when I joined the company, Our website was very texty. And again, coming back to wife, my wife said, until you change this website, I'm not going to tell anybody my husband is CIO of that company. Of
That's a
course,
good threat.
promoter also wanted to change promoters, as I said, they are very progressive, when it comes to digital. They wanted to change themselves, and we created this, and with a real time tracking, since we already had GPS data. This was different thing. Whom do we give? Which customer do we give? Which customer not to give? But yeah, we had that available real time tracking in 2014-15.
Okay. No, I think some really good takeaways from here. One is that when you implement a new technology, it can remain like hanging isolated somewhere without really getting integrated into the rest of the ecosystem. So one of the things that you need to really look at from a driving value from technology point of view is to see that nothing that you implement remains standalone. It is integrated with other applications. The data that it is generating gets used in other applications, and it should get ingrained in the processes, day-to-day processes of people. I think the second takeaway is we shouldn't take no for an answer when your common sense says that the answer should be yes, right? And
Yeah,
yeah, if it is so important for us to get that data to drive that value, then yeah, it's worth reopening the contracts. And yeah, actually, I've done the same thing. I've reopened contracts and changed them if they didn't make sense. Because what comes first is the business, not the contract, right? Yeah,
correct. And that makes you think. And there were several of such things which we did in the logistic company. Today also I get a call from CIOs of the peer logistic companies where they want to discuss certain thing. Is it applicable to logistic company, and if it is, in what way? Right. So that definitely, so that means they do look at you, who has a good aspect of technology and the industry, right?
absolutely, absolutely. So, Anjani, the other case study, which you narrated, which was so compelling that I said I want to write a separate post on it, even while discussing it in ClarITea Chat. That's what I posted today morning, and that's about the analytics transformation. Now, what I wrote today morning is like just a small glimpse of it, but tell us about the BI transformation and what you call as data democratization.
Correct. So data democratization is a big subject, right, and very close to my heart. I feel data democratization is the future, but we will come to that later. When you are asking this, that time, of course, I was from IBM, so we had implemented IBM Cognos in several customer, BO, which is now SAP. These were the leading tools, and then Click had come, and then there were several BI tools. I was in one of the sales meeting, and I saw people, sales operation meeting, and I saw people had different data, and there was no convergence, right, in the discussion. And my take was, I was new to the industry also. I was just 7 months in the company. I said, why is it? Try to find out from my own people, try to talk to the people, ask department heads, can we have a tea? And then realize everybody is looking at different data. And that is where I came up with the idea, why not to implement a BI? That at that time we picked up Tipco Spotify. Just because they gave a good deal. No, and it was a good tool also, of course. What we did is we created this. We said we will give it to the hub worker level, whoever is, operation manager level. So you have operation manager. On the sales side, you have sales associate, you have regional area manager, regional manager, corporate heads. What we did is not only we gave them access, we also said you will get an email every morning. And we made sure that how it is sent. And this was only we knew it. Only in few people in IT knew this. Nobody knew this. That at 9:30 or 10, the first set of people who are the sales guys get sales exec. 10 o'clock, the area manager. 10:30, regional manager. And 11 o'clock onwards, the corporate people. So by the time, the moment you get the report, first thing happens is you have few questions and you call up your associate. So regional manager calls area manager calls the sales
Sales guy.
associate. And that we saw there was like, I will get back to you was lesser or eliminated, because by the time somebody calls up, he has already done his homework. Where is the where will be the question, where things are not good. So that was, I would say, complexity wise, it was not much complex project. If I compare today's BI or analytics project or AI project, what we are doing, it was probably 1/10, because data sources were also not very high. Impactful, I would say it was one of the very impactful project I have seen in any organization over the period of time. And
Yeah,
that project is still continues. They still use it in different forms. Of course, it has gone with their technology stack is up, and but this was the, I would say, a very different way of implementation of technology and data democratization in true sense at that time, 2015,
yeah, that's
16.
right. So, one is of course data democratization, giving the access to everyone. But I think the manner of giving access to everyone, that's a simple touch of getting into the user's shoes and understanding that, if I as a manager, when I get a dashboard, I get some questions, right? And I want to talk to certain people as to why it is happening. And if this person has received the data 30 minutes back, you could have a much richer discussion. And there is nothing technological in the whole way of thinking about it. It's like all about user. And this simple thing, like taking away, I'll come back to you from the equation, and at the same time everyone making data driven decisions. I mean, that's a really powerful story, Anjani. So I must congratulate you for, thinking about it from that point of view. So
No, yeah, you, yeah.
yeah,
No,
you
user
wanted to say something?
centricity, I mean, consultancy teaches you, but I take it very seriously. And to me, even though I am a CIO, technology is just a way to do things. How is user using it? Your project could be the best in the technology, but if a user are not able to use it, it's crap.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So let's move to some more comments here. So we have Kailash Bhatt again. He's a regular here. Thanks, Kailash. Dr. Lap Singh has a question. How do you differentiate on feature-specific issues, the culture in private and versus public sector, especially IT? I mean, I think he's asking for the culture differences between public sector and private sector IT. I don't know if you have
I have
any.
never worked in public sector, so I can't probably somebody who comes from public sector, they have seen both the worlds. They could probably
Yeah.
answer that.
So maybe, here is my appeal to anyone who's from the public sector and worked in private sector too. You can answer this question. But maybe, I mean, just from what I have seen of the public sector versus private sector, it may just be about the fact, the decision making and agility, the way the technologies are changing very fast. um, you know you have to develop a mechanism within the public sector, I would say procurement rules or whatever, to make sure that that you don't lag behind. But I do see people who have cracked it, because there are many public sector units who have really done well with
Good
technology.
job.
I mean, the one that I really admire is Bharat Petroleum. What kind of consumer centric IT initiatives they have come up with. But I'll leave that question to somebody from public sector.
No,
So,
but see, to touch your point, touch to your point. Even if you go to MNC and promoter-driven company, the decision making, what you talked about, is very very fast in promoter-driven companies. I mean, in
absolutely.
within sometimes within days you get the decision, whereas in MNC it takes long time. Of course, it is pros and cons of on both the sides, but just because you talked about the decision making speed, I'm touching upon.
No, absolutely, absolutely. You're so right, Anjani. So, Senthil asks a question: where do you think an individual contributor gets stuck if he wants to move to leadership roles? So, Anjani, I'll give a different twist to this. See, I think it's a progression. So all of us invariably started as individual contributors in our initial career, and then slowly we became managers and leaders. So, what are the things in your view that you had to do differently when you moved from an individual contributor to a manager role, or the traits that you displayed which basically got you a manager role from an IC role?
Yeah, I would say the biggest is your attitude. Are you are you trying to solve company's problem, or are you trying to justify your role? Try to solve company's problem. Look at the business. How could you grow the top line? How could you improve the bottom line? How does your actions do that? Number one. Number two, how are you growing your own people? Number three, which is very, very important. I have seen many leaders who work actually below one level or two level, that they are at X level. Sorry to be very direct, but I have seen many leaders working at X minus one and X minus two level. Ideally, you should be working at X plus one level. So the moment you're working at X plus one level, whether people will admit or not, you get visible and you will get picked up anywhere.
No, absolutely. So correct, Anjani. Just to kind of recap it, number one, you should be solving bigger problems than just doing a job, right? So I'm being given this thing, I complete it, I go home. No, I mean, that is part of solving some problem. Do that. Second is take care of the people. That means even if people are not reporting to you, they are your colleagues, right? Take care of them, try to basically lead them, even if it is with influence. And yeah, so some good takeaways there. And thanks, Senthil, for asking that question. So there's another question from Sandeep, which is about what do you see as the major work culture differences between your working in US and later back in India? Are we bridging the gap with time, or is it still a long time to go?
Okay, very good question. First one is work-life balance. Okay, uh, US, you have much better work-life balance. India, we are yet to get, and it also might be with the maturity and over the period of time, it has improved a little bit, but yet to get there. Two is much more professionalism. Three, saying things upfront. Like if I won't be able to do, saying no, right? If I won't be able to do this project in 1 month, in US people will say no right away. Here I'll wait till 28 days, 29 day. Sorry, ये problem है. Correct. So these are the things I will say, but at the same time there are also a difference there are advantages on India side also. I mean, good points. Some of the thing workers are much more flexible, even if, which I was talking about, even if something is not defined in job role, people here would be more willing to do that than if you go to in US, right? Then two is the time stretch, correct? People are more willing, and then there are pros and cons, more pros and cons, finer points around it. Yeah, I mean, your colleagues are best monitor and mentors. Yeah, every company, even today, I have a couple of CXOs who are my mentors, and of course, they are my sounding board in my current company too. Jagdish, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Oops, sorry, I went on mute. Yeah. Um, so, Anjani, can you quickly answer this question about like enterprise data lakes
Yeah.
and how they help
So,
with data democratization? A short answer, please.
sure. See, data, I mean, I'm sure you all have heard data is the new oil. But if you don't refine the oil and distribute, oil has no use. Same thing for data. Data is there, but data is just there as a swamp. How do you convert data swamp to data lake, where you could data lake, data warehouse, where you could use? So how do you make it usable? How could you get insight? How could you bring anybody who is authorized to see the data in the form they want? How do you get to that form? And that is where data lake is very important. If you look at it, every organization wants to be, or at least has to be, in over period of time, when we go to future of work, data driven enterprise. There is no option. Correct. So
Absolutely.
born digitals are already data driven or enterprise. Born analog companies are heading towards it. 5 to 7 years, you will see every company is data-driven organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, just imagine the power of it. Many a times in our clarity chat, we have discussed about, there are some things, where you cannot point your finger at the ROI, but intuitively they're just worth doing. So data democratization is one such thing. So just imagine if every individual in the company, everyone has to make decisions, and what if all those decisions are made data driven, and that data doesn't have too many versions. Everybody's making same decisions on the same set of data. I mean, the power is phenomenal. Now, I want to bring up this comment from Mr. Uppal. So, Mr. Uppal,
Hi,
thanks for
Rajesh
coming
sir.
again on Clarity Chat. Last time as a guest and this time as audience. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Um,
it means a lot to have uh, Mr. Rajesh Uppal to
Absolutely,
be in
absolutely.
audience.
It's an honor, Mr. Uppal. So now, Anjani, I had one question for you, which has been asked by Praveen. So let me bring the question from Praveen. So, pharma is an extremely regulated industry. So, as a CIO of large pharma company, what are the top challenges you have in short term and long term? And maybe, at the same time, Anjani, you can also talk about your personal experience of, how you're driving transformation at Strides.
Sure. So pharma, I mean, if you look at it, every sector has a different digital maturity. Pharma has been latecomer to the game, right? Pharma and healthcare also up to some extent. But last 2 3 years has been golden era, I would say, when it comes to digital. Nothing related to only me being there for last 2 3 years in pharma. Uh, so one of the things is how do you drive first is how do you help compliance to be digital driven, and that is the biggest challenge. Correct. Two, a lot of the time there is a resistance from the business. If it is working well, why do we need to digitize it? Because I'm already compliant, right? Third one is it's a constantly there is a cost pressure. How do you increase the efficiency, reduce the overheads? Correct. The fourth one is the resiliency of the supply chain, which we saw in COVID. All sorts of things. Why remdesivir is not available. Some other things are not available. And fifth one, biggest, what was taking 10 years, 12 years in R&D, people wanted in 1 year, and you saw it. This is all power of digital, right? So if you look at it, some of the priority first is the digitization itself is the best priority. Then you have the how do you harvest the data. Now you have done the digitization, how do you harvest the data, which is the BI, artificial intelligence, ML, all of these. Then you have how do you gather the data from the machines, which is IoT, right? Automation. Yeah, I don't know how many of you have seen in BCG itself themselves say by 2030, 50% of any company's work will get automated, right? Through bots, RPA, several ways. So how do you do that? RPA and other automation is pretty much any repetitive task, any database decisions can be done through the uh, computer programs or robots. So that's another area we are also working on. And the last one is supply chain resiliency. So how do you make digital control tower where demand planning, supply chain planning, and real-time visibility, you are harvesting the external data, right? You could predict that by this date, this medicine will be available in US with all the shipping, correct? And taking care of all the API, you are getting API from China, and you are sending the medicine to South Africa or US, and you are making in India. So you can imagine all sorts of complexity out there. So these are the priority, I would say. You're on
Oh,
mute, Jagdish.
yeah, thanks, Anjani. I have some guests at home, so I have to go on mute in between.
Sure.
In fact, they've just gone out now. So, Anjani, maybe we'll just overshoot by like 5 7 minutes. I have some important questions and the rapid fire round, and
Sure.
all the audience. It's not going to be more than 5 7 minutes. So, Anjani, there's one very important question that I had for you, which you were, I would say, humble enough to admit is about your failures. So, tell us like about
Sure.
one or two of them where things didn't work out, and what did you learn from them?
So I was telling somebody that if you did not have a failure, probably you are not doing digital, because BCG, McKinsey, all of them say 40 to 50% projects fail. And this was one of the things analytics we tried to do in logistic company did not work. One of the voice chatbot we tried to do in one of my experiences in Collabra, that was probably we were ahead of the technology, right? Till POC worked fine. The moment we put to 10, 15 people, did not work, correct? The BI project in my current assignment, it took more than a year for me to get to the BI level where we are, which is I was expecting 3 to 6 months looking at my own BI experiences. So yeah, there are several of this which you think you will be able to do, but either there is a technology challenge or there is an adoption challenge or there are some other unforeseen thing and you realize, oh no, this won't work. But what is important is try fast, fail fast, move fast. That is what is important. Agility is the most important thing in digital era.
Absolutely, absolutely, and learn fast. So
Yeah,
I think there's a big I would say attitude change also required here, Anjani. That mostly the corporate cultures are around like celebrating successes, right? Nobody, and we push all the failures and all the what do you call not so good things under the carpet. I think a good learning organization is where we discuss successes as well as failures, and we look at failures not from a victimization point of view, but from a learning point of view, right? Okay. So, Anjani, that brings us to our rapid fire round. So this is like you have to answer each of the question in less than 30 to 40 seconds. So, are you ready?
sure.
Okay. So, what's the importance of communication, especially for CIOs?
Communication is the most important because you are working with all the stakeholders in the company. If you look at all CXO, you will work with all the CXO minus ones. If you are not straight in communication and you are not able to communicate what you are doing, anyway, people don't understand technology, half of the people. So you won't be able to communicate what you are doing. And then finally, you know the outcome.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you want yourself to be understood, learn the power of communication more from a business outcome point of view than what tech you're doing, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So second question, you have been part of the cohort of India's most social CIOs multiple times. So how does one become the most social CIO, and what is the underlying fundamental principle behind being social? Why should someone be social?
Okay. One is being original, right? What you want to, what you are, just don't try to act, just be original. Two is society has given you so much. You should also give back to society. If people would not have mentored me, people would not have given me knowledge, I wouldn't be what I am. So it is my duty to give it to other people. And that's the power of exchanges.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think so well said, right? No, we have received so much, but we hesitate in giving back. And one of the easiest and freest things to give back is whatever you have got in terms of knowledge and wisdom, right? And so all of you out there, who whatever you're gaining from the ClarITea chats, please be as generous in giving back to your colleagues and your subordinates, as you're getting it from all the top leaders here. Well, next question. So every enterprise leader in whichever function today wants to be digital savvy, right? Now, how should CIO help in that process?
A very important question and current problem. It is industry's problem. CIO should be talking to them, sharing some article, overall having the discussions. I mean, doing the digital discussion, what you are doing, what are the different technology, bring external partners like AWS, Google, McKinsey, BCG. They have certain courses, have short videos on things, and educate them and show them exactly what digital could do in their area, and that is how they will be able to relate to, and then they will come back to you instead of, I mean, it will be pull instead of push.
Yeah. So it's like,
I am
just
yet to do.
widen
I
the.
am yet to do in current organization, by the way.
Yeah. No, that really works. That you basically you just have to open their eyes, and you also have to tell them that they don't have to do everything. It's a partnership.
Correct.
There's a certain part that they have to do in terms of defining the outcomes, the use cases, and you do the data and technology part of it. And how that partnership will work. I think the moment they see the path on how to get there, and they realize that it's not like something I need to have, it's like something I need to embark on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most of the business leader I have seen, they want to do things in digital way because somehow they know that digital will make the difference. But somehow, from IT perspective, we are not able to show them the path and connect how it will achieve the result outcome.
absolutely, absolutely. So, Anjani, my second last rapid fire question: your most memorable mentoring conversation?
Oh, there are so many of them, but it was when I had to leave IBM. One of the discussion was what whether I was thinking. I mean, once you are going from the big services company to a corporate IT, and my boss said, "What do you have to lose if you go, or if you don't like the job, if you it doesn't fit in? You can always come back to the position and the salary which you are at, right?" And I was in two minds, to be very frank. Nothing wrong in admit two minds, like 60% I want, 50 to 60% I used to be here and there every day. I used to think too much, and then this was the conversation. Correct.
Absolutely, that can be so comforting to know that you're welcome back if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best things that leaders can do. They can simply, reassure people that don't worry, I'm there if it doesn't work
and
out. Yeah,
and if you ask me, I have, as I said, I still have huge respect for him because he was not looking at it. He liked me as a resource. I was working for him, and he is thinking about my career. He is thinking about what is the impact I'll make. He said, "You will make more impact out there." Correct. So that was.
absolutely. This is a part of being a leader is not to be selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last rapid fire question: how do you leverage the asymmetry of talent to your benefit?
Oh, see, you have newer people, older people, junior people, senior people. Most of the time, I see, oh, there is a many people, many leaders think I can only new people can be good. Some people think no, only old people could be. You have to work out. You have to make sure old and new people gel well because old people have the wealth of knowledge. You just can't write off, all the old people. And new people bring the new level of thinking. You have to make sure that they are given the space, they are given the time. And as a facilitator, as a leader, if you are not able to gel it well, it is bound to fail. Correct. That's one. Number two, you also have to bring the entry level trainee. One, it brings the new millennial culture in your team, which many of us don't realize, and which is many things are good in millennial culture, right? We just can't write off, and that's the new reality.
Absolutely.
um, right? And second one is also it brings your cost down. Three, it brings a lot of energy to your team. So these are the few things I would say. Talent symmetry you have to work on.
Absolutely. And I think, there's one question I couldn't ask you, and you've answered that question. It's like, how do you build a team and, managing the old with new? And I think you've answered that. If there's something that you want to add there, maybe.
No, it's just that you have to have a very different conversation with old people, new people, and you have to explain them very transparently. Because what happens is most of the time there is a trust deficit issue where old people think in a different way, new people think in a different way. So you have to have a different conversation and then bring them together. Correct, and show
I,
that in action also. Sometimes people say something and action is different, then people won't trust you.
No, no. I think that's a very important point to build trust among all the team members. Do many other things beyond, like, just like having team meetings. It's like, taking the team out, having those, I would say, conflict resolution conversations as well. So that brings us almost to the end of it, Anjani. So I have been asking you all the questions so far, and now it's like there's a bit of a chance for you to get even with me, and now your chance to ask me any question.
Oh, good. This is unique concept where I also get to ask the question. Yeah. So if you have been the business side, you have been the CIO. Now you are a digital consultant, right? So if you have to look at three roles, what is the one perspective you would say is very, very different in these three roles?
Interesting. So there are common things in all of them, right? And there are different things, but the most different is like what I'm doing right now. It's just because I mean in the corporate role when you're a CIO, CXO, like you kind of arrived in life. You have done everything. You have a lot of resources at your beck and call. You have a lot of people at your beck and call, and then suddenly like you pluck yourself out and then become like an ICO all over again. Of course, like I've been able to build a small team and all that, but most of the stuff that you had support is no longer there. So it's actually a complete rejuvenation experience that I need to learn everything, right from like making presentations to taking printouts, to even like the small compliance stuff which I never. I mean, I had people to look at those things. I didn't really have to do much. So I think this
You
this is the
become true
most.
a startup basically.
You become a true startup at a personal level.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey,
So
so
go ahead.
uh, yeah, I we have a lot of comments here. So I promised everyone will be 5 to 7 minutes. So we are 8 minutes over now. So Anjani, thank you so much, and thank you all the audience. You have been awesome. A number of questions you have asked and how you have engaged here. Thank you so much, and I will see you again next week with a very different and fresh face as a CIO. I'll not reveal it now, but that's going to be really interesting. And let me just leave out a clue there. We're going to talk a lot about diversity. Okay. So for now, thank you everyone. Have a good weekend. Have a good Saturday and a relaxing Sunday before we get down to another awesome week. Before we take the break for Diwali. So, and thanks, Anjani. You have been really great today. Lots of learnings to pass on to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jagdish, and thank you, the audience. Very engaging questions. And of course, I thank you for coming over on Saturday and have a good weekend.
Bye bye. See you next week.
Bye.